But what we have sort of envisioned for you as a group, and that's important. When we're working with all of you here, we're always working with you as a group, and in so doing we're going to be attempting to work on a sort of a blending and exchange of energy. We wanted to, as we mentioned in the last class, begin to lead you through the different levels or areas of the heart center. And we have asked for the candles to be provided. We would like to ask for one thing. We would like for all of you to take your candles, put them a bit before you so it forms pretty much of a circle. It doesn't have to be exact, but it is okay if it's a bit away from you, but follow where your candle is so that when we're doing the meditation you can observe your particular flame amongst the group of flames. All right. First of all, before we really lead you directly through to the heart center, I want to talk very briefly about the heart center. When you're trying to make any of the ideas or the information in a course such as like this applicable in your life, you're going to always have to begin with the heart center. If you want to access your true personal will, for example, it's a very, very significant area, we believe, to begin, for example, by working into the solar plexus or down into the area around the navel and so on, which has become very fashionable. That is very appropriate in its sense, but the key to really accessing your personal will is to access it through the heart center to get to that area, even if you're working with the solar plexus. We have a very strong feeling that you need to access any of your energy centers through the heart to be able to truly work with them in more than just a superficial level. All right? Now, we have basically 4 levels to the heart center that we talk about. We're going to begin by leading you into a sense, or hopefully a bit of an experience, as far as the first level. What we want to ask for you all to do is to be sitting where you are right now and just have your gaze at this point to the candle that you put into the circle before you. Alright? Make sure that you're comfortable. You don't want to worry too much about, is this aligned with that, or am I sitting appropriately in the chair? Just get yourselves comfortable whether you're on the chair or on the floor, and begin to draw a line of connection between yourself and the candle. If you remember in last week's class we had talked about the light. Now the light that we're speaking about is discovered within the 3rd level of the heart center, or is made manifest within the 3rd level of the heart center. So in a sense what you want to think of in terms of an imaging process is that the light that you're going to be working with is going to be a light that is illuminating from within and deeper within than the level that you're initially beginning with. So it's sort of the light, or the flame in a sense, behind what the light of clarity that you are able to work with. Now what you want to do is you want to be able to look at the flame, draw a line of connection between yourself and the flame, and then very gently and at your own pace close your eyes and try to maintain the image of the flame or the light within yourself. And what you want to do is this. You're trying to image the flame very much within what you might think of as the chest area or the heart center. And any time in this beginning portion, if you begin to lose sight of the flame or the light, you simply open your eyes, re-image the light, and then gently draw your eyes closed again. So it's a way that you can always have a sort of reference to bring you back to the light that we're trying to then work with within. Alright, so we do want to suggest, however, that for real benefit of any type of meditation like this, it is far, far better or most recommended that you do have your eyes closed during most of the meditation, because it's a meditation taken within. If your eyes are open, it's not just that energy is moving through your eyes to be able to see, it's just that your energy actually is moving towards that which you are perceiving, even if it's not your intention. When you close your eyes, that energy of seeing, and it is a vision, it's a visionary energy, that energy you can then utilize inside. It's not that you're trying to word out any ounce of energy leaving, it's the quality, it's the nature of the energy, of the energy that you're trying to then direct within. Alright, so we want you all to sort of just gaze for a moment into the flame until you feel comfortable, and try to draw a true line of connection where you can begin to feel the resonance between that flame and within yourself. You're investing something of yourself into the flame, and the flame is investing its light within you. So it's not to be taken as a one-way sort of movement, it's both ways, and that's important. When you're working with the first level of the heart center, hoping that all your eyes are closed, this is the level that we call the level of feeling and affectation. Now, there are some of you that have heard these terms before, but we're going to attempt to illuminate this in a more significant way. Feeling and affectation. As we have mentioned in the past, this is probably the level of the heart center that is most frequently accessed and experienced, and actually becomes much more of a wrestling match during the course of one's years than a source of strength or direction. And of course it shouldn't be that way, but that is what is usually the case in your culture at this time. When you have an understanding that in the age that you're working into now, that you're really already in, even though it may seem as if more officially it's approaching, is really a time in which the energies in the world around you, the immediate world around you and beyond that, are directly hitting and resonating with the heart center. This is going to cause quite a lot of activity and sort of flux in not just your own life, but in the human community on your planet as a whole. Because it's not a situation that throughout history that the heart center has never been activated or set into a really full and beautiful motion. It's rather that at this time that the heart center is being directly worked on in terms of the energy and is being evolved to another stage of operation. That is something that in order to really be able to experience gracefully and in a very beautiful way, you have to work in this time right now in your lives on clearing, opening more fully, and being able to gain strength and enjoyment out of your heart center. If it doesn't happen that way, what you will probably find is that the change in terms of the energy working on the heart center will probably give people actually ill health rather than good health. You see? Because you're working in a situation where if more and more energy is being focused in terms of the functioning of this as an energy center, and it's a very blocked energy center, it actually can increase the level of tension rather than let it go. So when you begin, and all you have to do, it's not as if you have to do this wonderful full clearing. All you have to do is reverse the direction that you're moving in your life, so that you're moving towards that opening, towards that clearing. When that's the case, the energy that's coming in will further the process. You see? So it's not a situation that you all have to become fully evolved and enlightened beings with a transmutation in the heart center in order to get through this age. What's most important is the focus, the direction that your energies are moving in terms of the heart center. Now, in terms of the feeling and affectation, you actually, on an individual basis, determine the level and the type of feeling that you will be capable, or that you are in any moment capable of experiencing, let alone expressing outwardly to others. And you determine this level of feeling through the heart center. The first level of feeling and affectation is a level in which you feel all those different feelings that are very close to you, the feelings of the heart, whether they be feelings of immense love or feelings of immense sorrow. It's the feelings that are very, very close to you. Even though it's understood that the solar plexus becomes a seat of emotions very much tied to the mental plane, the emotions that the solar plexus is capable of harnessing or registering are actually determined by the heart center. So if you have a situation in your culture where you're trying to remove blockages, let's say for example in the solar plexus, and you're releasing all of this very difficult emotional struggle that you're dealing with, what you will find is that it will return. If that's all the main focus is on, is clearing that tenseness and that anxiety in the solar plexus, because where the emotion is drawn from and where the spark of resonance to draw it into the solar plexus taken from has to originate from the heart, because it's through the heart center that all of your senses are created and can be guided. And that includes your senses of touch, that includes your senses of hearing and taste, and regardless of what you might hear in terms of your scientific understanding of the way the various senses operate through the system, we want to at least give you our perception that their potential, their quality, and their power is always going, and their nature is always going to be determined through the heart center. And we'll try to lead you to an understanding of really why that would be the case. Now, what's important to understand about the first level of the heart center is that when you're going through a life experience and you're really dealing with all these pent-up emotions, that in terms of dealing with the way that others are treating you, or the way that they're not treating you, the way that you cannot make things work in your life, all those feelings are created through the heart center, initially through a level of resonance. You have a very clear understanding that even though you might have an idea that an infant comes into this life expression with very much of what you might want to think of as a clean slate, two infants really have the same personality, and the feelings that they move through can be clearly distinguished between one and the other. Now what you're going to understand is this. Initially in your life experience, you begin to register feeling through resonance. When something comes your way, when you have an experience of an energy, your mental processes begin to access through the heart center to a level of resonance with previous times, either usually it's in some way aligned to this lineage of your soul root, although it can go beyond to other lineages of the soul root. Now what that means in simple terms is this. From a very early age, if someone is trying to show you love because they believe very strongly that that's their role and their function, and the love is not truly felt, what it begins to resonate with is that deception within the child. Even if the child is not aware of it, it will begin to pull those emotions, pull those feelings forth, because what happens is this: when you're a child, you're going to resonate only with what is most authentic, because the mental processes haven't taken over to such a strong degree. And as such, You might even be smiling and be very happy in terms of what's happening, but you'll find other states of feeling creeping in. And this is, of course, as a child. And that is because they are being drawn in through this resonance. In a more simple and direct way also to mention this is in your life expression when you're older in your life and you're moving through, let's say, a very difficult emotional relationship with someone that you love very much. And there's a great deal of sorrow and pain. You will feel that pain oftentimes far greater than it really deserves in your mind. And the reason that you'll feel that pain or that emotion so strongly, so intensely, is it will resonate with the other times in your different life expressions in which you had a similar experience of energy or that interaction of energy with another person. And then what you experience in this life expression becomes almost then the combination, sort of the building of all of them together. And you say to yourself, you understand that in no way should this be happening to you. You should absolutely not be so affected by such a simple act or action on another person's part. And yet the feeling that you have to move through the experience is very profound and is very deep. And you begin to be at odds with yourself because you cannot shake the emotions as if they function separate from your mental processes, and in that degree they actually do. So what you want to do is this: as you are sitting and you're now beginning to hopefully begin to relax back a bit, the eyes closed, you want to take the eyes, even though your eyes are closed, and begin to peer down, as if you're trying to look right into the heart center. And you don't have to worry, you might envision the heart center right before you rather than right where the organ of the heart is. But move your energy through the point of the eyes until you feel that you're beginning to focus in the area or the space that feels as though it's resonating with the heart center, and in particular with the feeling that you're holding through the course of this day in the heart center. Alright, one moment, and we want to help everybody's focusing within. First of all, now that you're moving into that space, one of the first things that you want to begin to understand is that one of the reasons that you feel these feelings so intensely is that the energy of the heart center is by its very nature going to be projecting forward. So the deeper levels from which the flame actually then would be emanating its light from are really pushing, in a sense, for those energies in the upper levels to be moving, to move through. Because it's not just the light of the third level that's attempting to make its way into the outside world. It's what's behind the light also. So we want to begin to sense within your heart center that it isn't static. You're not working with a program of feeling that you just have to walk with and somehow deal with. You're dealing with a living being that is yourself, and the very processes of your being do not rest in terms of static or stagnation. There's a motion, and the primary motion of the heart center is outward. And we want you to please take note of that line. It really is the case. The primary motion of the heart center is outward. You cannot take into the heart center before you can move the four levels forward. You can never really take anything in, not very deeply. The next thing about this space, that hopefully you're beginning to feel yourself within a given space that's within your system and then within the heart. The next observation that we would like to bring to your awareness is that actually there is emotion in the heart center which is a spiraling. And the spiraling motion in terms of where you're looking, in terms of the first level of the heart center, is a motion that is spiraling downward. As it spirals downward, it actually moves in on itself as if a spiraling that is moving to a more of a finer point of reference. So you want to be able to get a sense that the actual motion that's coming through to this level of the heart center is actually a motion that travels not in a straight line, but through a spiraling process. Now that's really going to be important if any of you decide to pursue working in healing or working with energy working in a particular way. The next thing you might want to notice about this level of the heart center is that it lacks clarity in terms of image. Feeling in this regard, in our perception, precedes the thought, and precedes therefore the image created by the thought. There's a dual aspect of the imaging process that we can go into another time. But for where you are right now, we want to begin to understand that this is a level of feeling. Whatever images you receive in terms of these feelings will initially be triggered by your mental processes, what you can relate to in terms of your experiences in this life. Not in terms of past lives, and not in terms of future vision and or personal vision. It's going to be very much dictated in terms of image by what the mind can associate that feeling with. Another observation you want to make as you're moving through the center, we want to begin to suggest that you begin to move around it as if you're moving around the outskirts or the outer part of this region. Because the next thing we want you to begin to observe is that the space has a certain degree of stillness underneath the feeling. So that if you're beginning to sense or to be able to feel that which is within, you want to see if you can reach the stillness that's below that, and it's still within that same level of the heart center. When you're trying to work with the clearing of the heart center, and you're trying to clear the first level, you must approach the actual point of stillness within the first level to be able to work at clearing. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to create different combinations in the sense of the energies within that first level, so that you juggle up your feelings of it, but you don't get rid of them or you don't transform them into really what you're trying to do or make happen. The next level of the heart center we call the level of the light and the dark. In our perception, it's a level of the heart center which has been quite a mystery for your people for quite a long time. The level of the light and dark is the level where you work on a balancing. But it's a balancing of the various feelings, the various energies that you come into this life with as a part of your nature, and that you draw to yourself within this life expression and from beyond it. So that what you're doing is you're trying to not just create a balance within this level of the light and dark, but you're also trying to see what you align your energies with as much clarity as possible. and take it actually closer to you. You see, usually within the human nature, when you're working in the second level of the heart center and you begin to sense this sort of balancing mechanism, it feels more like a wrestling or a battle than an actual harmonious system of balancing. And as such, there's an inclination in the human nature, in our perception, to move that energy away from you. So in terms of the second level that we're talking about, the heart center, the level of the light and dark, it's the level in which you stop imaging and feeling yourself as good and bad in one instance, good in the other. As competent in some areas and not competent in others. As loving towards some people and quite the opposite towards others. It's the level of the heart center that actually enables you to begin to put an end to the very rapid shiftings of states of mind, of consciousness, when you handle it effectively. When you're in the center, there's probably going to be a sense that it's a place that you really don't want to stay very long. When you get the balancing in place, it's not just an even out balancing of all the different elements within your being. You actually integrate. When the heart center is brought towards an experience of this integration, it actually is able then to let go of so much of the tensions which prevent you from fully experiencing and realizing the greater power that comes through potentially into the heart center. When you're trying to be loving and you cannot discover the capacity, or you're trying to feel something you know you should feel, but you can't, the place that you go to is this level, the second level. It is not just something that functions in sort of this overview. It's an area that you can utilize so that when you're experiencing something that you don't want to be, or when you're not experiencing what you really know in your heart, for lack of another word, that you should be, or that you desire to be, you can go to this space to begin to make it work. The way you make it work is by embracing all that is within this space, bringing it to the center. There's a characteristic about the second level in which these energies like to stay on the outskirts. If you remember von spiraling that we mentioned. And what you want to do is purposefully or willfully bring those energies, those feelings together to the center. This is how, in a monastic tradition, you would, in our perception, you would truly begin to center within. If the centering process does not begin in the first level, it begins in the second level. And you need to embrace this full spectrum, bring it together into a sort of flowering, and then let that center you deep. It is through the centering process, where it all's coming together as if you're moving through. You want to begin to sense a flower, and the petals of the flower just touching the very bottom on the second level of the heart center. And you're using the energy of your vision, or your seeing, even though your eyes are closed, to peer right down into the center of this flower. You begin to feel how the energy then is allowing you to move through that space and then deep within the heart of that flower. And this is going to bring you down on a very steady basis, down into the third level. Now, the third level of the heart center needs to always be understood as a sacred space. It is where you, in the sense of making your sanctuary for the Holy Spirit, for the light of the heavens, or the Godhead and the angelic realm, and for the very energy of the Christ to touch deeply into your being. One thing that you want to begin to notice about the third level is that it doesn't seem to be as directly tied to your ego structure. It seems very distant from the level of feeling and affectation. And it really is beyond all that wrestling of the level of the light and dark. The third level, to coin one of your phrases, just is. And in its actual being, if you want to touch into the eternal plane, you touch it through the third level of the heart center. It's the level of timelessness. And you might even have a sense that the flame is in many ways suspended into this sort of dark space. And the flame, as you bring the spirit in and let it nurture that space, begins to get stronger, more bold, and the light begins to reflect off the walls, and you begin to perceive a vast illuminated space. If you want to go to a sanctuary, you're not going to find one more pure than the third level of your heart center. And you should respect it as such. When you bring the spirit into this third level and you are cultivating flame, you actually, in so doing, open up the passage to the fourth level. The spirit will always resonate with your creative energy. And your creative, and to be understood as including your procreative energy. And because of that resonance, it is able to draw forth into the third level from the fourth what we call the vital essence. You cannot live, you cannot function without the vital essence. It is that which is used to project, to bring your being into expression. Any attempt to heal, to regenerate, to evolve, must utilize this vital essence. You have a phrase and understand your life's blood. Well, this you might want to equate as the blood of your being from its spiritual dimensions. When you're able to then let this guide you into the fourth level, you begin to realize that the fourth level is not this vast reservoir of vital essence. It is a springboard, and you spring forth from the fourth level on the wings, to be figurative, of your personal will. It moves through and with all of your previous life expressions from this lineage of your soul root to connect to your soul root. This is the path to connecting with, touching your higher self. It is not going deeper within our ego structure. It is moving through the heart center to discover the real origin of this life expression, which is your soul root. And the higher self then is a consciousness projecting from it. When you're utilizing the fourth level as the springboard, you can move forward from it, and you'll find your body or your system almost taken on a sort of conveyor belt or steady motion that will be leading you towards the higher self. And in the path of getting to the higher self, you should begin to see. And images, sounds, color, light, all these experiences can really begin to come your way into your perception when you're moving through that lineage to the higher self. If you have followed this, you're already in motion towards the higher self. And you want to be able to begin to feel the innate strength, the innate wisdom, and the innate holiness of the higher self. Higher self, the soul root, is of God. It is not touched by evil or any conception of it. It is pure. And it is the source of your strength. When you begin to slowly move back, you want to focus on trying to take with you some of the essence, very sparks of energy that you can touch from the higher self, from the soul root. And try to take that into your resonance and carry it with you as you move back slowly to the fourth level. You move up through the fourth level into the light for purification in your sanctuary of the third level. You let that light encircle your being, fill all of your space, lift you into the second level that you see with a little bit more of a distance. And then bring yourself from the second level very slowly, then up into the first. All right. regardless of how much or how little you may feel you experience on such a talk and meditation practice, you want to realize that the potential of what you can experience from this is way, way beyond your imaginations. Alright. We have provided for your friend an impulse for the second portion, and we are hoping that if he acts on this impulse, that you will be guided to work experientially then with this path through the heart center. And we hope that you will all be able to gain a greater sense of recognition of who you are. Normally we would have asked you to ask questions, but we want to respect the time frame that your friend has asked us to. Therefore we're going to let this be the close of the channeling portion and ask that you take a brief break to begin the second portion. And we want to thank you very much.